This adventurous and magical story begins with a great king who was hunting in the forest. While traveling through the forest, the king comes across a small child who was gravely injured. The child's body bore strange markings, leading everyone to believe that he was cursed. However, the king saw something unique in the boy, so instead of leaving him there, he took the child back to his palace. The child's name was Kai, and he belonged to a samurai family. The king provided Kai with the best care and treatment, but most people still considered him cursed, so they stayed away from him, except for the king's daughter, the princess. From the very beginning, the princess looked after Kai and tended to his wounds. Over time, Kai started living in the palace, and as the years passed, the princess began to develop feelings for him. They shared a strong bond, but Kai never wanted to cross a certain boundary because he belonged to a lower class, while the king was from a much higher status. Years later, many soldiers were hunting in the forest when suddenly, they were attacked by a giant magical creature. These beasts were powerful enough to destroy entire armies. The king's soldiers tried to fight and kill it, but its massive size and incredible speed made it unstoppable. It had already wiped out almost half the soldiers. Nearby, a white fox with two differently colored eyes was watching everything unfold in silence before quietly disappearing. When the news reached Kai, he learned that the soldiers were in grave danger due to the magical beast attacking them. Since Kai was also part of their team, he immediately mounted his horse and rushed to help them. At the battle scene, a leader named Yeso was defending the soldiers, but it was evident that he was too weak to withstand the magical beast's power. Just as the creature was about to strike Yeso, Kai arrived and swiftly drew his sharp sword, slaying the beast and saving Yeso's life. However, Yeso was extremely selfish. Instead of being grateful, he despised the fact that someone as insignificant as Kai had saved him. He would have rather died at the hands of the magical creature than be saved by Kai. But while Yeso resented Kai's intervention, the rest of the soldiers were overjoyed. Since the magical beast had been slain, the king was on his way to the battlefield. When he arrived, he asked who had killed the beast. The king naturally assumed that Yeso was the one who had defeated it. Yeso, unwilling to correct him, did not reveal the truth that it was actually Kai who had slain the beast. Pleased with Yeso, the king gave him full credit for the victory. Among the king's protectors was a man named Master Ashi. Observing closely, Master Ashi noticed that Kai's hands were covered in blood, undoubtedly from the magical beast. This made it clear to him that Kai was the true hero. However, he chose not to interfere in the matter. Meanwhile, a second king named Kira was introduced. He was the chief of another clan and was plotting with a magical witch. Kira had long sought to take control of Kai's entire kingdom. He wanted to defeat everyone and rule according to his own will. The story then revealed more about the witch, who had two differently colored eyes. It became clear that the white fox seen in the forest was actually the witch herself. She had the ability to take the form of any creature or animal. The witch told Kira that during the upcoming festival, when all the kings would gather, they would execute their plan to seize the kingdom. The festival finally arrived, and it was a grand event organized within the kingdom. Every major king was present, including those who controlled the most powerful realms. As part of the festival, a competition was held in which each king would send a warrior to fight on their behalf. The soldier who emerged victorious would bring great honor to their kingdom. From Kira's kingdom, a mighty warrior stepped forward, clad in a strong, impenetrable shield. From the king's side, Yeso was chosen to fight, as he was believed to be the strongest, the one who had supposedly defeated the magical beast. However, when Yeso was summoned to fight, his behavior was odd. Something was clearly wrong with him. Kai rushed to check on him and soon realized that Yeso had been possessed, rendering him completely unable to fight. It was later revealed that this was part of the witch's plan. She didn't want Yeso to participate in the battle. But Kai knew that someone had to step up and fight. Determined, Kai donned Yeso's costume and entered the arena to face the warrior. The opponent standing before him was massive and immensely powerful. But Kai was filled with courage. Without hesitation, he started fighting the warrior. Both of them were equally skilled in swordsmanship, standing at the same level. Kai put up a fierce fight against the massive warrior, but in the end, his sword broke. The warrior was so powerful that he struck Kai with a mighty punch, sending him crashing to the ground. During the fall, Kai's mask came off, revealing his true identity to everyone in the competition. It was not Yeso who had been fighting, it was Kai. Everyone had always considered Kai to be of a lower class. When the major king learned of this, he became furious. To him, the sacred rules had been broken. Outraged, he ordered that Kai be executed. As the soldiers moved in to kill Kai, the princess rushed to his defense. She declared that Kai was not at fault, he had only fought on behalf of his kingdom. Because of her desperate pleas, the major king decided not to execute Kai but instead to punish and torture him severely. On the king's orders, the soldiers mercilessly attacked Kai, inflicting serious damage upon him for his so-called mistake. Meanwhile, on the other side, Kira and his witch accomplice were executing their plan. According to their scheme, this was the perfect night to trap Kai's king. Their ultimate goal was to kill him and seize control of his kingdom. The sinister witch used her dark magic and teleported directly to the king. She cast a spell on him, showing him an illusion in which Kira appeared to be assaulting the king's daughter. Enraged, the king grabbed his sword and charged at Kira to kill him. In his fury, he struck Kira, causing him serious injuries, making Kira scream in pain. Hearing his cries, several soldiers rushed in and captured the king. But in reality, it had all been an illusion. The real Kira had only been asleep the entire time. When Master Yeso arrived and looked into the king's eyes, he immediately realized that the king had been bewitched. This was not something the king had done intentionally. However, by this time, the Major King had been informed of the situation. She summoned the king and sternly accused him of attacking a guest, which was a crime punishable by death. She declared that whether a ruler or a soldier, the punishment for breaking the law was the same. Thus, the Major King decreed that Kai's king must be executed. The king, feeling utterly powerless, had no choice but to obey. The authority of the Major King was absolute, and no one could defy her decision. However, she granted him an honorable death. Accepting his fate, the king took a dagger and, without hesitation, plunged it into his own body. Yeso also had no choice but to obey the Major King's command. With a heavy heart, he took a sword and ended the king's life. When the princess learned that her father had died, she was completely shattered. She couldn't comprehend how everything had taken such a terrible turn. Now, with no ruler left in the small kingdom, the Major King appointed Kira as its new king. From that moment on, Kira would rule the kingdom, control the military forces, and govern the land as he pleased. The Major King then told the princess that, in due time, she would have to marry Kira. It was the law of the land, and anyone who defied it would be executed. Everyone obeyed the Major King without question, and Kira had finally succeeded in his plan. With his newfound power, Kira began abusing his authority. His first move was to imprison Master Yeso, along with all the loyal soldiers who had once served the previous king. They were locked away, sentenced to suffer. As for Kai, Kira ordered his soldiers to exile him to a distant island from which he could never return. Time passed, and an entire year went by. Eventually, Master Yeso's sentence ended, and he was released from prison. He was allowed to live in the village, but by now, he had grown old and weak. His son took care of him. However, Yeso had only one goal left, to take revenge on Kira. To do so, he needed to reunite his scattered allies. His son informed him that many of their people were hiding in the forest. Determined, Yeso instructed his son to send a message calling them all to his side. He knew they had to join forces and wage war against Kira to reclaim the kingdom. To find another crucial ally, Master Yeso embarked on a journey to a faraway island. This island was a lawless, dangerous place where illegal activities thrived. Escaping from it was nearly impossible. Upon arriving, Yeso found himself at a massive battleground where warriors were fighting each other. In the distance, he saw a terrifyingly large monster battling a lone man. The creature was immensely powerful, but the man facing it fought with incredible skill. To Yeso's shock, the warrior was none other than Kai. Kai fought the monstrous creature fearlessly, eventually defeating and killing it with ease. It was clear that over the past year, he had grown even stronger. Despite his incredible strength, Kai seemed to have left his past behind. He no longer wished to be burdened by old memories. Now, Master Yeso steps into the battleground to confront Kai. At first, the two engage in a fierce sword fight, but Master Yeso keeps trying to reason with Kai. However, Kai is relentless, attacking continuously and refusing to listen. At one point, it seems like Master Yeso might be defeated, but his excellent combat skills allow him to hold his ground against Kai. During a critical moment, Master Yeso reveals the truth: an entire year has passed, and Kira has taken over their kingdom. Worse, he is about to marry the princess. Upon hearing this, Kai suddenly regains his memories. Realizing the gravity of the situation, he ceases his attack on Master Yeso and instead teams up with him to devise a plan for escape. Together, they fight off the island's guards, as escaping was nearly impossible. But with their exceptional battle skills, they manage to overpower the security and successfully flee the island. Master Yeso then leads Kai deep into the forest, where many of his loyal followers had been hiding. These were the warriors who had stood by Master Yeso from the beginning. Master Yeso gathers his people and declares that they must strike back against Kira and reclaim their kingdom. However, they face a major obstacle: they have no weapons. At this crucial moment, Kai steps forward with a solution. He explains that he knows where to find powerful weapons, inside the magical forest, where enchanted monsters guard ancient weapons. These weapons are not ordinary, they hold 10 times the power of regular ones. Trusting Kai, Master Yeso and his entire force set out on a journey to the mystical forest. Kai warns them that obtaining these weapons requires passing a deadly trial, one so dangerous that it seems nearly impossible. However, with no other options, they decide to take the risk. After traveling for a long time, they finally reach the enchanted forest, where they encounter wandering spirits that seem to be blocking their path as if warning them not to proceed further. But Kai, having been here before, knows how to handle such obstacles. They continue forward and eventually reach the entrance of a mysterious cave. Kai turns to Master Yeso and says, "Only you and I should go inside. I trust no one else with this mission." Master Yeso instructs his soldiers to remain outside no matter what happens. With that, Kai and Master Yeso step into the cave, venturing into the unknown to retrieve the magical weapons. Meanwhile, inside the cave, several people were sitting with their heads bowed before something strange. Kai turned to Master Yeso and warned him, "I'm going in, but no matter what happens, do not draw your sword. The forces in this place will try to make you do it, but you must resist." Master Yeso was given this strict instruction, and then Kai proceeded deeper into the cave. As he advanced, he noticed a strange-looking figure. It was more demon than human. Right in front of this creature, embedded in the ground, was the sword Kai had come for. This monstrous figure had seen Kai before and had been waiting for him. The creature gave a sinister invitation, "Go ahead, take the sword." But Kai knew this was a trap. He was certain that the monster was waiting for the right moment to strike. Outside, the remaining soldiers grew restless. They began to worry about Kai and Master Yeso's safety and decided to enter the cave to check on them. Master Yeso stood still at the entrance, but when he turned around, he was shocked to see that all his men had followed him inside. Frustrated, he scolded them, "Why did you all come in?" However, the soldiers had already noticed the eerie, seated figures in the cave. Fearful, they instinctively drew their swords. The moment they did, the strange figures came to life. They were monsters, lying in wait. Now awakened, they launched a brutal attack on the soldiers. A chaotic battle erupted. On one side were ordinary humans, and on the other were deadly, supernatural monsters. In the midst of the commotion, a whisper echoed in Master Yeso's mind, urging him, "Draw your sword and fight." But he remembered Kai's warning. Determined, Master Yeso held his ground, refusing to unsheath his weapon. He waited patiently for the situation to calm down. Meanwhile, inside the depths of the cave, Kai was desperately trying to retrieve the sword. The monster challenged him, the sword was placed between them, and whoever won would claim it. Kai was just a normal human, while the monster possessed incredible magical powers. It moved at blinding speed, so fast that Kai could barely see it. But then something surprising happened. Kai began to keep up. Years of survival on the island had honed his skills, and his time there had taught him new techniques. He had grown stronger, and now he matched the monster's speed. Their battle became intense, both fighting at an equal level. In the end, Kai emerged victorious. He managed to defeat the creature and claim the magical sword. The monster, now defeated, acknowledged Kai's strength and realized that he was a good man. Meanwhile, outside, Master Yeso still had not drawn his sword. Within moments, the battle raged on, but suddenly, everything came to a halt. The truth was revealed. Master Yeso's soldiers had never actually entered the cave. It had all been an illusion, a trick meant to pressure Master Yeso into drawing his sword. But he had remembered Kai's warning and resisted. Kai now emerged, holding the powerful sword. As soon as he arrived, mystical weapons appeared before the seated figures in the cave. These weapons were meant for the warriors. Now, their army had the strength to fight. They were 47 warriors in total, and their only goal was to infiltrate Kira's kingdom, kill him, and liberate the entire kingdom. However, a lingering fear remained. Defeating Kira would not be the end. Major King would never let them go unpunished. After all, Kai and his allies had betrayed him. The warriors knew that even if they succeeded, Major King would hunt them down. Still, they made a fateful decision. They would rather die fighting for their kingdom than live under Kira's rule. To solidify their resolve, they signed a declaration stating that they were ready to die for their cause. With their mind set, they began their journey toward the kingdom. But Kira's fortress was heavily guarded, making a direct assault impossible. To get inside, they devised a plan. They disguised themselves in costumes to blend in. Meanwhile, preparations for Kira's grand wedding to the princess were in full swing. Festivals and grand celebrations were taking place throughout the kingdom. Under the cover of these festivities, Master Yeso, Kai, and their warriors infiltrated the palace. Master Yeso boldly walked onto the grand stage and began performing to distract the crowd. Meanwhile, Kai and his warriors spread out, taking positions in preparation for an ambush. Kira and his men had no clue that an attack was imminent. Suddenly, more of Kai's soldiers arrived and launched a surprise assault on Kira's troops. Chaos erupted, Kira's forces were caught off guard and were now in grave danger. Everything was going as planned, but then, out of nowhere, an arrow struck Master Yeso. He collapsed to the ground, revealing his face. The moment Kira recognized him, he immediately ordered his soldiers to attack. Kai's warriors regrouped and continued to battle fiercely against Kira's forces. Fortunately, their preemptive strike had already taken down many of Kira's soldiers. The entire kingdom was now engulfed in a brutal war. Amidst the chaos, Kai fought his way to the princess. She was overjoyed to see him, but their reunion was cut short. Suddenly, standing before them was the witch. This time, she unleashed her full magical power and began transforming into something even more terrifying. The witch transformed into a fearsome dragon, possessing immense powers and the ability to breathe fire. However, Kai had the magical sword, which gave him an advantage in battle. At first, he struggled, as the dragon relentlessly attacked him. But using his sword skillfully, he dodged and countered with ease, ultimately slaying the witch. With the witch, the most important ally of Kira, defeated, Kai had removed a major threat. Meanwhile, Master Yeso was focused on his long-awaited revenge. He wanted to personally capture and execute Kira to reclaim his honor. Master Yeso tortured Kira mercilessly before finally beheading him in an act of vengeance. Holding Kira's severed head, Master Yeso displayed it before the enemy soldiers. Seeing their king dead, Kira's forces immediately surrendered. His son rejoiced, as the battle had been won. It was clear, Kai and Master Yeso had emerged victorious. However, the next day brought new turmoil. Major King arrived and learned about everything that had happened. Furious that such drastic actions were taken without his permission, he could not tolerate the disobedience. As punishment, he sentenced all 47 warriors, including Kai and Master Yeso, to death. The warriors accepted their fate with dignity, knowing they had fought for their kingdom. On the day of the execution, they dressed in ceremonial attire, ready to sacrifice themselves. Just as they prepared to take their own lives, Major King intervened. He spared Master Yeso's son, declaring that at least one member of his lineage must survive. The princess, heartbroken, wept for Kai, but he was powerless to change anything. The warriors, resolute and fearless, followed the decree. They all drew their swords and took their own lives in a single moment of tragic honor. The deaths of these 47 brave warriors left the kingdom vulnerable, an oversight Major King failed to anticipate. Meanwhile, the princess, who deeply loved Kai, regretted never confessing her feelings. She had always feared that her royal status would create an insurmountable divide between them. Now, it was too late. As time passed, the truth of the warriors' sacrifice became widely known. Their bravery and selflessness made them legendary, and people began demanding justice for them. Perhaps the warriors had always known this would happen, yet they chose to make the ultimate sacrifice anyway. And with that, this heart-wrenching story comes to an end.